Some good news this morning, potentially for travelers and the airline industry. Alberta is rolling out COVID-19 testing at the border, which could mean ultimately shorter isolation periods for people returning to Canada, possibly more seats being sold on international flights. It's a pilot project, the first of its kind in the country, and it begins on November the 2nd. Canadians and some foreign nationals will have the option to be tested when they arrive at the Calgary International Airport or at the Coutts land border crossing. If they test negative, their self-isolation period could be shortened from 14 days to about 48 hours, 2 days. Participants would be closely monitored. They would have to wear masks in public spaces. We were talking about this last hour with infectious disease specialist Dr. Suman Chakrabarty. He says there's promise to all of that, but he still has questions.
Based on the information that we have right now, I don't know what type of test they're using. I don't know what their protocol is. I think at best, this could tell you if somebody's contagious at the time they land, but then making a decision based on that when things can easily change in that 48-hour period gives me some doubt. So there's some promise to this, but I need more information.
So it's interesting. One of the things they were talking about, if, eventually when they'd be allowed to leave quarantine after that 48-hour period, if they tested negative, they would have to have another test in 6 or 7 days. Might that catch some of the questions that you're talking about there?
It could, but it still means that the person's going to be out in public or, in a household and potentially contagious. For example, the test could be negative. You're not contagious at that time, but you have COVID or you're incubating it, and then you could develop it in that 48 hour to 7 day period. So, I think maybe if there's a situation where you're doing daily tests, maybe, but again, we haven't seen anything like its kind in Canada. So I'm going to reserve judgment until I know a bit more.
Okay, I have one more question about another potential caveat. Many people were excited about the people who were flying into Calgary's airport, less so about the people who would be driving in at that land border crossing in from the United States. We know what the case numbers are doing in the United States. I mean, they are in almost every single state. They are rising exponentially. So is that a red flag for you?
It is. And one of the things that worries me is that right now, I think that travel, with what's going around in the world, we don't want to be having large numbers of people returning to travel just because you can import infection, whether it's through the driven route or the flown route. So I think that overall, this might have some unintended consequences. And I think that right now, we really should focus on, trying to reduce the risk of infection here in our provinces, in our own country.
That's Dr. Suman Chakrabarty.